Good afternoon, Southwest Florida. I say afternoon because this is Lee Pitts Live. Of course, I'm the host of the show, Lee Pitts. And this handsome gentleman here is the incomparable Charles Dailey, candidate for the Lee County School District 7, District 6. Before we get to Charles Dailey, I want to set the scene because I know you hear music in the background. On this stage right now, the children from the Quality Life Center rehearsing for the play Annie. We got in here early as an exclusive, and of course, Charles Dailey is so big in education. It's a thrill to have him in here early enough to talk to Lee Pitts Live as we cover this event from gavel to gavel. So without further ado, District 7, folks, District 7, District 6, District 6, when you go into that polling booth, District 6. Charles Dailey, welcome to Lee Pitts Live again, man.
Thank you, Lee. It's such a real pleasure being here on your show again. As always, thank you for your generous opportunity for me to be here.
I think even though you're excited about being on the show, I think you're even more excited of being around children.
You know, Lee, I look at these kids. That's what it's all about. That's why I'm running, to make a life better for them, for their parents, and for all the stakeholders in Lee County. That's what it's about.
Just the other evening, we saw you boots on the ground in the community, giving a passionate comments as relate to the visual that was being held, the candlelight visual.
Yes.
Unifying the community. Talk about that night while those people were out there at the Quality Life Center lined up along ML King, and how you as a school board member in education can have an impact in some type of way on the reduction of crime amongst our youth in the community. Just talk about how you see education playing into that whole role.
Well, I think it's important that we need to provide the opportunity for kids to see at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes we don't treat kids like they should be treated. And whenever we lose the life of a young person, whenever that life is snuffed out for no reason at all, it concerns me, and we just need to be reminded of why they are here and our purpose and our responsibility as it relates to those children, and what we need to do to continue the drive and the momentum in helping them to be successful.
One of the things I noticed when you were giving your presentation out there in front of hundreds of people, and when you pointed to the children, you said that's what's important. It seemed like it came from something deep inside of you in terms of your love for children.
You're absolutely right. You see me every once in a while, keep looking there.
Right.
As I said, children must come first. That's what my campaign is all about. That's what I have been about for over 30 years in this district, fighting for children, black, white, Asian Pacific Island, American Indian. It didn't matter. Children must come first.
Now, you're in campaign mode now. Before we get into some of the particular issues as it relates to your campaign platform, talk about times when people are going to be able to vote, early voting, that type of thing. Sesame Street that for our audience.
Well, the first phase will take place beginning Tuesday, August 2nd.
Okay.
That's when you will be able to participate in the early ballots. You'll be able to, those ballots that you'll be able to, that you receive in the mail, and that you'll be able to vote and send those in. That's the first phase. Then the second phase comes in on August the 20th. That's early voting, where you'll be able to go to the polls and vote. And then the actual voting date for the primary is August the 30th. We need your support in helping us make this dream a reality so it benefits all, and all means all.
Charles, when is the deadline that a person can register to vote? Do you know that?
I think that deadline has passed now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when a person looks at a ballot, that ballot is going to be similar in the booth as it will be in the mail-in.
Yes.
Where would they go to find your name?
In District 6,
Okay.
I will be number 2 on the ballot. It will be under Charles Dailey. Just remember Dailey, the daily newspaper, or Dailey working for you daily. Charles Dailey, number 2, District 6, in the Lee County School Board race.
I remember a long time ago, you probably don't remember this, but I still use it to this day. I was meeting with you over to on Michigan Avenue, I think, Alternative Learning School.
Yes.
You were doing your thing as a Sterling principal over there. And you said, Lee, the way to remember to spell principal is remember the principal is your pal.
Is the best pal.
So you don't get the two principals mixed up.
You don't
That's
get the two
PA.
principals mixed up. The principal is your best pal. Principal.
So every time I write that word, even to this day,
Even to this day, you remember that, Charles.
Got the right principal, not the P-L-E. So you never know, man. Little things like that follow people.
Well,
now, it has not been a secret for a long time. People have always seen you as something like an administrator, a school board type person. So it's so exciting to the community that it has actually come to fruition where you have the opportunity to change the course of history. Very similar to what Barack Obama did, very similar to what Hillary Clinton may be able to accomplish. Why do you think that it's so important that we have change and different voices on that school board, particularly as it can relate to our communities?
Right now, we have school board members, at least 2 of them, and 1 of them vying for 12 years. 1 of them has been on the school board for 16 years, going on 20 if reelected. Another has been on there for 12 years. And another has been on, that is running now, that is my opponent, has been on there for 12 years. That's too long. We need to be looking at time limits in terms of how long a person can actually remain on the board. And I think 2 terms is enough. It allows new ideas to come into your system.
Okay, elaborate on that. I know you said new ideas, but what are some of the other perils of somebody becoming stale in a position for a long time?
Well, you have seen the micromanagement. You have persons that have been on the board for 12, 16 years. They tend to take ownership in that board, and they tend to think that it belongs to them. They don't refer to themselves as a professional politician, but realistically, that's what they've become. And the education comes secondary rather than first, because they're too busy trying to maintain their power and their influence.
I see. Now you run it at large, and it's a nonpartisan race.
That is correct.
Sesame Street that to our audience. What does that mean to them?
When the electorate decided to move forward on extending the board 2 extra seats, they had a District 7 and District 6. Those 2 are county-wide positions. Other positions that are running, like Districts 2 and District 3, you have to live in those districts in order to vote in those districts. The District 6 and District 7 is a countywide election, which allows individuals throughout the entire Lee County area to vote on those elections.
I see. Now, when you look at the Lee County School District, and when we hear you on the campaign trail, one of the things that comes out of your presentations, your comments, is that you are about innovative ideas. One of the ideas that you have that you think would enhance the education process is that teachers will have the opportunity under a certain structure to stay with students for at least 5 years in some cases. Explain.
That process is follow your own. As a member of the Accreditation Commission, that Advanced Ed Accreditation Commission, I have the opportunity to go and visit schools and districts across this country. Some of the schools, some of the districts that I've visited, they have developed a process where teachers follow their students from 1st grade to 3rd, from 3rd to 5th, and in some cases from K all the way up to the 5th grade. This allows the teacher to know their students, know their weaknesses, and they can immediately begin to target on those areas and move up with those students.
And the student is also familiar with the teacher.
And the student is also familiar with the teacher. The parent has become tied in with the teacher, and it really establishes a strong homeschool partnership with the school, the teacher, the student, and the parent. it's another way. We have got to begin to work outside of the box rather than just concentrate on the way we just do things. That has to stop.
Now, people out there who are seeing you for the first time, of course, Lee Pitts Live goes into about 750,000 households. People who are seeing you for the first time says, who is the guy you're talking to, Lee Pitts? What in his background qualifies him to be running for the Lee County School District 6 board? Who is Charles Dailey as it relates to education? Tell us about your background.
I think I have served in this school district for 30 years plus. I have worked as a teacher. I've worked as a coach. I've worked as a coordinator. I've worked as a dean. I've worked as a principal, a director. And I've worked in those areas that
Transportation too, right?
Director of Transportation.
There's so many you can't go through all of them.
It just takes so long. We'll be here forever. But what it has done, it has provided me that experience from the ground floor. Now, Lee, another thing is important. I was one of two, Melvin Morgan and myself. We signed off on the court order to move the district into unitary status. We were the ones that did the evaluations.
That means that this district is being controlled by the courts at that point.
At that point, it was a 30-year court order.
As it relates to segregation.
As it relates to segregated
Again,
schools.
Everybody doesn't know all that.
Yeah, as it relates to segregated schools. So working from the inside, I've just not been one that has just been in those administrative positions. I have worked from the inside, working to improve the conditions that face our children. Mm-hmm. I have been a warrior for children for 30 years plus.
That's right. Now, when you talk to school teachers in the Lee County School District, almost to a man, when you say Charles Dailey, they say he recruited so many school teachers to this district. Elaborate on that.
Lee, I say on the campaign trail, and which is a fact, that I have recruited more teachers in this district than any single one person.
That is just amazing.
And that's just not African-American teachers. That's white teachers, Hispanic teachers, across the board. Mm-hmm. And you're able to look to see number one, the first question, do you like kids? And if you have a love for kids, then we need you in this district. And whenever individuals tell me it's difficult to find teachers in this district, you can't say that to me, because that is it's just not a true statement. I just can't accept that when I have been able to do it.
Now, one of the things that will happen is when you are a member of the Lee County School District, which you will be in the coming months, you're going to have to be able to gather votes to get policy done. You're going to have to be able to win friends, influence people, build consensus, get things done. How would you, as an outsider, because you're kind of running as the outsider, the change agent, how are you going to get some of those district members to abide into some of the ideas that you're going to have?
The truth. Just be very honest and being very direct. If I was able to, by the grace of God, if I was able to move this district forward in doing the right things to achieve unitary status, and I believe that there are individuals who want to do the right thing for this school district, and I believe we present the facts based on the data and based on those issues that relate to making sure that children come first.
The Lee County School District, if you can recall, give me a general idea, has been around for how many years?
Basically about 149, 150 years.
I love that. Okay, the Lee County School District, 140. And all of that time, there has never been a black person on the Lee County School District, a board. How could that happen?
I think the times have changed. And what I don't want to do, Lee, is, as you know, I don't like to use a race card. I like to say that I like to concentrate on what's now. And what is now is I think that there needs to be diversity on the board. We no longer need to have taxation without representation. We need to concentrate on individuals who are making decisions for our kids. Lee County has about 55, close to 60% minority students. And not to have that kind of representation, Hispanic, Black, Asian Pacific Island, on the board is a travesty. And it does not reflect who we really are. Mm-hmm. And we are a system that cares about kids.
It seems like your message is really penetrating and people are listening to your message. Are you excited about the recent straw poll that was done that you were actually victorious in? Tell us about that straw poll.
I just received information. I participated in the Cape Coral Civic Association straw poll, where I happened to be victorious in that straw poll. I have received endorsements from the mayor of Fort Myers, Randy Henderson. I've received endorsements from Bob Beamon, the 1968 World Olympic champion, my friend. I've received endorsements from Ernest Graham. I've received endorsements from Johnny Street, Councilwoman Teresa Watkins Brown.
Of course, he's received endorsement from Lee Pitts of Lee Pitts Live. If you guys haven't heard, you just heard it right there.
Well, thank you, Lee. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Vote for Charles. I'm vote for Charles.
That's great. Thank you.
Charles, what are some key things, 2 key things that you think negatively impacting the Lee County School District that you feel that you can make a difference in changing?
Right now, this district is currently experiencing a $500 million deficit. $500 million deficit. And one board member that has been there for 16 years talks about consistency. Well, we have consistently used that credit card. We need to find other ways, other means outside of the box in terms of servicing the students. When we have that kind of debt, just think what happens if they call the note in. That means it impacts other programs within inside of the school district that aren't able to receive the resources that are used to benefit all kids, that are used for teachers in terms of turning the lights on for children.
How do we get that deficit down?
We've got to work. First thing we need to do is that we need to we need to have an audit that determines where we made some mistakes. We can't go back, but what we need to do is to make sure that we do not make the same kinds of mistakes over and over and over again. And an audit would tell us that.
Do some of those lawsuits that we may hear about from time to time, different types of legal issues that the Lee County School District may decide to pay people or to avoid going to court or whatever, or a settlement, do those contribute to the deficit as well?
Listen, anytime you're spending money that does not make sense in spending, that if you can do something about it, it's monies that could be used for student achievement, things that take place inside of the classroom. That hurts. And what we've got to do is to begin to be proactive rather than reactive. And this is what this board has been doing consistently for 16 or more years.
You have prided yourself in being outside of the box. In fact, you kind of pride yourself and say, let's just get rid of the box. Let's do some creative thinking. Tell us some other innovative ways you thought about the educational process based on your many years of experience.
Well, another thing that we're going to have to do a better job at, there is what we call the vertical and horizontal collaboration alignment. That means that you have, and that's across the curriculum and across grade level. That means that you have teachers in a particular grade area that are speaking with other teachers in the grade level below them that have had that student before that is not particularly doing well. And we're able to find out the history on what were they doing that was powerful enough for you to have positive results, that maybe you might be able to share those. that is working across the curriculum. In math, what is little Johnny doing in math? Why is he doing so well in math and he's not doing well in science? What are we doing, what are you doing rather, that is impacting little Johnny to want to do that math and he's not doing it in science or English or reading? So that's what we call the vertical and horizontal collaboration alignment, where you're aligning yourselves with teachers that are involved with the same students, up the ladder and down the ladder and across the ladder.
When we look at the Lee County School District, say 10, 15 years from now, what is your hope that the district will look like, feel like, smell like, and taste like?
You know, I'm not going to say that this district is in terrible condition, because it's not. We can do better. It is my hope and it is my desire that we would be representative of the groups that we serve every day. It goes a long, long way in terms of providing that home-school partnership. I'm thinking that we need to build trust in our stakeholders, which we have lost all of the trust. I'm hoping and praying that we can remove ourselves from the micromanagement that is taking place.
You mentioned micromanagement before, and you mentioned it on the show before. Give me a for example.
When you have individuals that have sat on the board who think that they own the board, and you're able to manipulate and place enormous pressure on the superintendent rather than let him do his job.
Or her job.
Or her job. That is, and you're using your influence to control, that's wrong. And we don't need to do that. There is, in the accreditation process that took place several years ago, one of the required actions that took place that was recommended by the accreditation board was that board members that go off of the reservation, and there is no process that allows them to be brought back into the process. The one example was when we elected the superintendent. Now, mind you, I don't have an issue with Greg Atkins. I think that
Dr. Atkins.
Yes, I think that he will. I think that if given the opportunity, he'll do the job. But what it does is that when the chairman of the board at that time, is out of the city, and then you move forward with an election that you had not decided to do prior to.
I see.
That it taints the whole process.
You mean selection, not election. Selection.
It's a selection process.
Right.
And it taints the whole process that took place. So it places him at a terrible disadvantage, because the two people who really pushed it now become, as the public views it, now become liable to him. And that does not need to happen.
I see. Let's go back for a second and go with the superintendents in general, nothing in particular. But we know in the last two superintendents prior to Dr. Akins maybe lasted maximum 2 years in the job. When we have a high turnover of superintendents, quick turnover, what's the impact that the average person doesn't realize that has on a district overall?
Well, the first thing, it brings mistrust and within employees, within the entire district staff. Mm-hmm. There is a concern that we aren't about the business of educating kids. The emphasis turns on the board members who move forward to make it happen. Mm-hmm. and look at the time frame when that took place, and you'll find out who they are. Another thing that takes place is that a process that allows the district, whether they want to look inside or whether they want to look outside, you're not getting the best quality candidate in because your reputation is that they're only going to last a year or two. Who wants to come here and work for a year or two when there are other districts that would provide the opportunity for something else more meaningful and worthwhile?
The final question. The election process now that's in front of us could have a tremendous impact on where we see ourselves as a district in terms of diversity, in terms of creativity, in terms of keeping up with other education systems. One of the things that's high and talked about oftentimes are charter schools. What is your position on charter schools?
I've had the opportunity to visit and to actually evaluate charter schools through the accreditation process. Charter schools specifically work with students that are not necessarily successful inside of the regular school system. I think that we need to use every tool, every mechanism we can to save students from the turmoil that presents them in the street. Failure to save students and not use all our resources is reckless abandonment, and we can't afford to do that.
You know, I said one final question. This is really the final question. It's good, people, to have your own television show. You can continue to go when you want to go. High stakes testing. What is it? How does it play into the Lee County District, and what's your position on it?
Well, the high stakes testing is another part of the Common Core that has gone awry. The Common Core was not designed for the tool that it's being used for now. It has created what we call the VAM, and that's where teachers are evaluated based on their scores, and it is also used in terms of district grades. Well, when you have that kind of pressure for teachers to excel or for their students to excel, in order for them to get additional monies, which put food on the table, clothes on their children's back, then you begin to use testing as a tool, and you increase the testing that takes place, because now the district creates tests in order to evaluate how well the students are going to do on other tests.
I see.
And so, therefore, you shouldn't have kindergartners on a computer trying to take a state assessment test. Children should be learning about firemen. What does a fireman do?
Really?
What's the job of a police officer?
That's what goes on in schools now?
That's what's taking place right now. And so that is a part of the high stakes testing. I do not agree with that. However, let me be absolutely positively clearly, I believe that teaching and learning is a part of a testing process. If you're going to teach a subject, if you're going to teach an area of concentration, then in order to determine where little Johnny is or where little Ann is, that you need to have an evaluative process that is able to target, well, little Johnny needs some more help in multiplication. Little Ann needs some help in sentence structure. And using the data from the tests that we receive allows us the opportunity to target on those students that need the assistance, but not the high stakes testing. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about pure testing after the lessons have been taught to determine competency that children should have received during the process.
Understood. Well, people, you've gotten another glimpse into Charles Dailey, candidate for District 6, Lee County School District. He's in the race. His hat is in the arena. He's out there. He's talking. He's available to come and speak at your meetings. You can reach out to Charles Dailey. Tell them how to reach, give it that website.
That website is Charles B. Dailey Campaign, and you'll be able to find us. We need your help. We need your support.
They can call you as well?
And they can call me at 239-980-3082.
They won't go through some fancy campaign manager. They'll get directly to you?
No. We don't have a campaign manager. We have a committee that we all work together. That number is a direct number to yours truly, Charles Dailey, candidate for the Lee County School District 6 at large.
Okay, well, Charles, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
It's been a pleasure, Lee, as always.
And as I already said, I am going to vote for Charles Dailey.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Man, that was long in depth.